Hey everybody, back at you again for another field test. And today we got a more heavyweight axe to look at. Now this is an Estwing. I believe this is still called a camp axe. She's a pretty good axe, guys. So you stick with me here. We'll reset the camera as usual. We'll get some measurements of this axe before we put it to work. Ooh, that hit hard. All right, guys. Let's take a look at this beauty. And how this sticker has managed to stay on throughout the years I've used it, I have no idea. All right. Let's get some measurements here. This is definitely quite a few steps up from a hatchet. All right, I got 26 inches in overall length, guys. And across the head is 7. And our bit is 4 inches. All right, now like I said, I had this for several years, probably a decade now. At one point, I did severely damage the cutting edge on this. I was cutting down an old tree on our homestead that had fallen down due to some issues with some storms, and the tree was in bad shape. But somewhere along the way, it once, I guess, had a fence in it because there were large steeples in it, and it had grown over them, and I didn't know that it was in there. So, I put this thing into those steeples probably about 3 or 4 times before I realized what had happened. So I had to completely reprofile the edge up here near this section. So it's not the original edge that came with it, but in all fairness, that was my fault that happened. So outside that, all the years of long service that I've got out of this, and this has been my truck axe for a long time. I've cut a lot of down trees that have fallen across the road. So she has been a trooper. All right, let's get this thing to work so you guys can see how well it performs. All right, guys, we just went ahead and moved to a new spot because this thing will gouge out a whole lot more wood than the machetes and the hatchets will. First, I get this bouncy rotten layer off the top. Get down to some not so rotten wood. There we go. All right, that's pretty good. All right, guys, here we go. And again, I'm not putting much force into this swing because the tool is good and sharp. And this axe is quite made very almost specifically for chopping and cutting versus splitting. So we don't have to put a whole lot of energy into these swings. She'll do the work for us. All right, guys, let's get you in closer. You can see a little more of this up close and get a better idea of what we're doing. All right, nothing to it, fellas and ladies. Now, as you can see, the bite is far more substantial than a lighter hatchet. I mean, this thing is just chewing this stuff apart. We got some really deep, nice, clean cuts. A little bit more of that rotten stuff. I said there's no point in swinging hard with it. Don't want to wear yourself out. Plus, this tool will do the work for you. You just got to aim it. Oop, bit real deep there. We got stuck. Nice. And just quick, short order before we made that big of a cavity. This thing is light enough I can swing it with one hand. There you go, guys. Not too hateful. So this is one we're going to bring down. Well, first, like we always do, we're going to cut our cow's mouth in here, or a wedge. And this is simply to help us guide the tree in the direction we want it to fall. Okay, now we need to get on the back side of that. And that didn't take very long at all. Now we're going to just cut about a ½ inch, or not quite a ½ inch, above the bottom of our wedge here. Now help it lever right over. And timber. Just that easy, guys. And take a look at that stump. That's how that cut works. It basically turns this into a hinge. I'm sure a lot of you already know that, but in case you're new and you're not used to felling trees with an axe, it's kind of what you're after. It's kind of the same thing with chainsaw, but it's, I guess you need to be a lot more precise and careful when you're doing it with an axe. So practice makes perfect, and always practice with smaller, lighter trees to prevent serious injuries, guys. Now this tree we just dropped is almost a prime example of like stuff I'd run into when I'm on the road going home or to work. And whereas a chainsaw is definitely more expedient, I usually got an axe. So let's reduce this down to, make it more manageable and less heavy. And it will be harder to cut because it's going to bounce. There's a lot of give. So you're obviously not going to get as much of a solid force with a axe. But like I said, you take your time. Don't overexert yourself. Because if you get tired with an axe, that could be highly, highly dangerous. Just focus on being accurate and controlled. And keep 2 hands on your axe if you can keep it, because that's a lot safer. And we are almost through. Now I'm going to move to the side. Now that should allow for, in case that blows right through on me. And I think, yep, we're done. All right, guys. Just that simple. It's just being in control, going slow. Don't get into a big rush. It's probably one of the most important safety protocols with an axe. And obviously, have the axe good and sharp, so that way the weight of the axe does the work for you. All right, guys, I'm going to clean this up, and I'll get right back with you. Okay, guys, who's this axe for? Well, definitely camping. It could be something for a bug out situation, or just general use. You can keep this at the house in the tool shed. I find it makes a really good truck axe. It's not too big. It's more of a boy's axe length, but the head's a little bit more substantial. This thing has a really good hammer pull. It's been chamfered well. Now, like I said, keep in mind, it will split wood. You have to get smaller diameter stuff. I wouldn't go much. 8 inches would be the biggest, and it really does well 5 and 6 inches. Now, I'll show you why. That is your profile here. She's really thin, but it does have a nice 4-inch wide bit. So if you're going to go for perfect size, roughly a 4-inch diameter little log, if you're, but I mean, if you're in a situation you got to do what you got to do, you can get bigger stuff. You just have to start at the corners and work your way in to the center. You can kind of chew around it. But this thing is not meant really for splitting. This is almost a dedicated chopping axe, and it does its job quite well. But like I said, it will split now. Just get smaller stuff. So who's it for? Well, it's a nice overall general purpose. It definitely makes a sweet camping axe. Like I said, my greatest recommendation is your truck axe. Tree comes down, you can cut the tree up, start with the branches and stuff, get all the branches cleared out of the way. But, like with everything, basic safety, guys, make sure while you're swinging this, and like I said, this one excels at cutting and just, nice cuts, chips took out. But like I showed you just before, if you get near, we're getting close to going through, make sure your body is away. If you got nothing to put in front of you, maybe another larger branch that you can stand in front of, and what you're cutting's behind it. So if that does slip or come through, it'll hit the branch instead of your leg. And I'm bringing this up because I mean, I know you guys are not all just children. You don't know what you're doing. It's just I feel some responsibility to mention it in case it's easy for it to slip your mind. But when I show you this profile, now if this thing gets away from you and you bury this into your shin, man alive, people, this thing is going for broke. It is going deep. It'll hurt you hard. It'll hurt you fast. So you got to just be mindful of the dangers of the tools you're using. And I know it sucks sometimes. We don't want to do all the safety crap, but it annoys me too. But I do it because it's not just so much my life. I have a wife, I have a child, and it's not just about me. If something happens to me and I cripple myself, or I accidentally cause my own fatality, I'm going to be gone, but they're going to be left here suffering because, someone that was there, that was a big part of their life, that helped them financially, emotionally, that's what we're talking about. So the annoyance of the safety stuff, just don't let it bother you. Just think about the important things, because, I learned when I was younger, and some of the bad accidents didn't necessarily happen to me. I seen other people I was with, some my own age, a little bit older, and even some much more older people who didn't respect the veracity of a tool like this. And once it gets out of hand on you, the consequences could be absolutely catastrophic. So, enough nannying, you guys. Like I said, I don't mean to patronize anybody. It's just, I don't want someone to go buy this axe because they've seen this video, and then I hear about, they bled out because they weren't safe and they clipped an artery, or I just don't want them to get hurt. So, with that out of the way, recommendations. Can I recommend it? Yeah, absolutely. Now, with the caveat that you got to understand, it's got some limited splitting ability for splitting logs for firewood. Manage your size, or beaver chew your way in from the outside in. Now, if you're looking for something just to cut stuff and get it out of the way, pretty good at that. This thing is grade A at cutting. Hammer pull works great. It's very well aligned. I know it looks kind of weird. It kind of looks like it's almost sloping up, but the way the grind is right here, I found as you're striking with this, it lends itself for landing dead center real easily. Especially can you consider the curvature of the handle back here, but the way that's counter curved, so when you're coming down, that seems to hit true the way they got that made. So that's a factor for you. You know, it does quite well driving. And here's I don't know if I want to call it controversy, but there's been a lot of things where people hammer with their X mask on. Now, I found, especially with something like this, what's going to happen is your edge is going to eat into these rivets. And if it's a big leather one with a welt and rivets, it's going to do the same thing. It'll destroy your mask. So what you do is, in that situation, you do an offset. As I'm facing you. Now, the blade is pointing dead at my face. So don't hammer. I'm even going to move my head just for the example. Now let's pretend like I didn't move my head and I came down and I hit a good solid hunk of wood or something, and boom, that thing bounces back up and it splits your face. So whenever you are hammering anything, put your legs clean out to the side. Let me go down so you can see my legs, or this may not make sense. All right. Clear off to the offset. Now it's awkward and you can't hit it as hard. So be it. It's a lot safer. So if this thing bounces, you know, it's not coming up hitting me in the face or the shoulder. Or better yet, bloop, hello. Or better yet, take your time and make a maul, or, you know, something of that nature. Take your time, use your axe. If you got a saw, even better, help. Make a striking tool out of wood. That could definitely prevent you from hurting yourself. Because I can only imagine how horrifically much it would suck to have a bounce back with an axe, any axe, let alone this one that's made for cutting, and that thing bounce back and, you know, buries itself in your face. Yellow Jacket was behind my head there. All right, guys, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Let me close her out here, guys. This last segment's quite large. What did I do? Find another Yellow Jacket nest? Yeah, here. Anywho, guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate every one of you and your time. This thing's easy to find. A lot of hardware stores, Amazon. Want a nice truck axe that's got a slight limitation with the splitting, I'll admit, but good chopper. This is the one you want. And as always, it being its Estwing, got this solid steel. You have to work mighty hard to destroy this handle. So with that, I'll see you guys in another video.